following program makes use of copywritten material as part of a psychological examination of music. All music copyrights remain property of their respected creators. Hey, everybody. Today, we've got an old recording that we're going to be playing for you of a kitchen talk. I didn't realize that I was actually being recorded when we had this conversation, and it was kind of one of those late night, I don't know, like if you've ever felt like whenever you're past a certain point, whenever you're just kind of like your brain's not firing exactly on the exact same, cylinders. Would you say cylinders?
That's a good word. Go for it. Just go with it.
Yeah. One of those late night conversations where, you're not thinking the same. You're kind of more, it's past your bedtime. Let's just say that. It's past your bedtime. And we were on the topic of religion, which is one of those things that we don't talk about very often, which we totally respect each other's opinions that are different on religion. And so this is one of those conversations that don't have the best sound quality, but is probably as deep as we could ever go.
And before we go into this episode, I guess we can go ahead and put out the disclaimer that our views and opinions on religion do not reflect our show in any form of way. These are solely our personal opinions and our personal philosophies or beliefs or whatever, but nothing that we say we hope to represent our show as a whole. If you want to judge us for our beliefs, you can contact us individually and talk all the shit you want. But be sure to keep listening to the Conversationalists podcast.
Absolutely. And want to plug, we've got stickers for sale. We've got t-shirts on their way to being printed. I want you guys to subscribe to our YouTube. That would be awesome because we're now on YouTube now. And if you haven't added us on Facebook already, please do that. With all that being said, Niko, will you take us into it?
Real quick, hey, let's applaud John for doing the intro. Good job, sir. Welcome to the Conversationalists. Being religious based.
Right. And absolutely. Texas as well.
Yeah.
But why is it that, it's a lot of the people who are, or at least consider themselves religious, that are missing out on the really good teachings that were in the Bible? Pride is a deadly sin. Like a deadly sin.
Oh, dude, yeah, I feel you, and this kind of ties into something that I thought about a while back ago. You've heard of the movie God's Not Dead.
Right.
The whole plot to it is there's a professor who's an atheist.
Right.
He's teaching some class.
And he happens to be an asshole.
Right. And then there's a kid in his class that's like, I'm going to prove to you that God exists. And it's so crazy. Like, if you saw... Like,
I've seen the movie.
You've seen it?
Yes, of course.
Do you remember the fucking scene where, like, the professor's, like, holding a house party or something like that? And he's holding a house party for a whole bunch of teachers, and his girlfriend is a Christian.
Right.
But he sort of thinks, like, you're just being cute with that whole Christian bullshit. You're just being cute. You're lucky you're cute,
It's not.
Yeah. And, no, the best thing is, like, he's entertaining the guests, and... Like, they're sitting by a fire, drinking wine, swapping stories, blah, blah, blah. This lesson and this teacher did the, and she chimes in and is like, well, in my my Bible group, we learned this. And then everyone just sort of gives her this look like she just said, like, they give her this look like, I like to eat my shit, like. You know, like they just like, what? You're a Christian? You're still. And then like they're all like talking to the professor, like her boyfriend's like, come on now, like are you really gonna be with a Christian? Like, just like bashing her as hard as they can, you know.
But it is a propaganda move.
No, hold on a second.
Okay.
Just let me get to what I want to get at with this though.
Right.
Because there's people like you that could say it's a propaganda film, and there's people on the other side that are like, who know that people are truly like that, okay?
Right.
Not every atheist is going to be like, you know, I don't, right. You know,
absolutely.
I know atheists who are like that. But anyways, they're making a second one, right? There's another one coming out, same plot, right? And then I saw this little video on Facebook where it's like, this kid proved to this atheist professor that God does exist. You know, it's like one of those like stupid like videos that you see on Facebook. And I'm saying, in the terms of being a Christian, right? It turns into this thing where it's like all you care about is proving that this other person is wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, you have faith. Sure, you go to church. Sure, you feel the Spirit.
Right.
You're embraced by the Holy Ghost. But then there's this tiny thing inside of you. I mean, I know there's some verse that says, "All who believe in me will join with me at the gates, and all who don't will be left, you know, to rot or whatever." So you could I've witnessed people who genuinely want to inspire and to share the word.
Right. They don't want the other
They don't want to be.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They want to at least but like introduce them to that spirit, right? Then there's the people, like whenever a Christian meets an atheist, and the atheist goes, you know, I have a hard time believing in the stuff that you guys believe in, and you know, I just can't believe I can't believe the thought of there being this invisible man in the sky, blah blah blah, and then going hardcore on rants of like, this verse says this, and this verse, you know, how could a virgin? They always go to the whole virgin, Mary, you know, Mary, and then they always drop 3:16 on you. He died for your sin. Like they always like, it turns so hardcore into not, I want to introduce you to God. I want to expose your bullshit philosophies and show you how being a Christian is we're number one. You know, like.
I've come to terms with the fact that there's piles of shit in every single group.
I believe so. Yeah.
And in almost every single group as well, there's, you know, not every single group because there's Scientologists, but there's always really good, intelligent people as well. I mean, there wouldn't be so many big, you know, beliefs in a lot of these things if it wasn't for some sort of, you know, intelligent thought behind it.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think as a world of people and a world of different minds, I think we even each other out, because we have these people that thought of these, like we have fucking Darwin, we have Einstein, we have all these amazing minds,
who contribute. Yeah. But see, even almost every philosophy that's known of, at least kind of known of, you know, is really intellectual at some degree. Like, the one that's like the furthest from intellectual is Pastafarianism.
Yeah.
And that is intellectual to some degree, because I love it.
Yeah.
I think that it's great, even though some could take it as, okay, this is making fun of my God. And that can hurt people, but I don't think that it should. I think that they should see it as, you know, some people like the concept of church. Some people like the different festivities or being together with
community.
A community of people being good people.
Yeah.
You know, and they just don't believe in the same stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I like about that. You know, I mean, I wouldn't mind going to something like that. You know, because to be honest, I kind of like I never really been to a church that I really liked. I liked it at some point, but not one that I'd want to go to now. But I do love the concept of community. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to, it feels weird going to a place where...
You don't want to be singled out.
Well, it's not that I don't want to be singled out. I just don't want to be talking about something that's just kind of... It seems... I don't mean to offend you, but it sounds preposterous to me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I don't want that to be, what the whole conversation is, But
do you think that kind of ties in with what we're talking about with pride, though?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I definitely think that there is some sort of influence, but at the same time, it's I don't know, like...
Can you just stop for a second and see how something like pride can blind you from having those opinions or having those open thoughts to going to somewhere, to go into like a church community and allowing yourself to be vulnerable in the sense of where you present yourself as this person and they see you as that, but they just talk to you and they just try to introduce you to what they're about and what their philosophies are, their thoughts are about their religion?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I hear the philosophies, I understand the philosophies and I get them. And I'm not, afraid to hear them. It's just, it just kind of seems a little pointless. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I think it's pointless if you make it that way, because, I mean, if you walk in there with the same mindset, that if you leave there with the same mindset as you walked in, then I think that's your own doing.
Right, but see, I'm afraid that the vulnerability kind of has this sense of, I think that being vulnerable to that kind of thought, and weakening the logical aspect of things, mm-hmm. just to believe whatever, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that that's ultimately harmful to the structure of skepticism.
Well, I think you just have to figure out, like, where's that fine line between logic and faith?
Right, but I don't believe in faith. I just don't think that it makes... I mean, I have faith, mm-hmm. but I don't think that it's beneficial for me to have faith. Mm-hmm. I think that, like, I have faith that God doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. It's kind of stupid to have that faith that God doesn't exist because it's not going to benefit me mm-hmm. thinking that God doesn't exist at all. I think that ultimately the clearest realm, and I want to say the most honest level to ever be, would be agnostic, hard agnostic. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, because I just have that, I mean, and I guess that it is like pride driven, mm-hmm. And I see that, but yeah, I mean, I guess it is pride driven that I,
because you think about it, I hate to interrupt you, but you think about it. You go to a church, okay, and say you introduce yourself to a priest or pastor.
Right.
Okay. You introduce him as yourself as like, listen, I'm an atheist. This is my first time at this church. I just wanted to see what it was about. And then he says, well, I'm glad you came here, John. And let me talk to you about Christ. And he goes through, you guys sit down, and you go through the verses. You go through, Genesis. You go through 3:16. You go through Revelations. You go through everything that you go through, okay? And then, you're like, okay, yeah. And it's like, I want to introduce you to some people. Why don't you come with me? Let's go meet some of the other pastors, okay? And then you see that as you're taking the logical next step in this program or this situation. I think something like that would scare you in the sense of it's taking you further than what it is maybe you wanted to go.
Well, it's also kind of like the whole fear of, like, I don't want to use brainwashing because that's not it, but it's in that realm of, like, Stockholm syndrome. I feel like whenever you're surrounded by a complete, belief system, I think it's a lot of why there are so many believers mm-hmm. in the same sorts of religion. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the same, like there's so many Southern Baptists, mm-hmm. and cowboy churchers. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Bikers.
I think that ultimately that's just kind of like proof of what religion can offer in that aspect of Stockholm Syndrome. You know what I mean? So I think that we're vulnerable to that aspect of, and I don't like to use brainwashing because it's not brainwashing, but you kind of get what I'm talking about.
No, I absolutely.
A subtle aspect of it.
I absolutely understand what you mean by that. But I don't believe that exists simply because I've gone to church.
Right.
I've felt something. If it was the spirit, I don't know what it was.
Right.
But I was walking up towards communion.
Right.
It had been like the first time I had gone in a long time. Like the last time I went to church was probably 11 years before that time.
Right.
I get in there, and it's like this unexplainable feeling just like flowing through me as I'm walking. And I take it, I go up there, I get the body, get the blood, and then I go back to my seat, and I felt like this amazing calm.
Right.
Right. I don't know if that, because I know I've done shady shit since then.
Right.
So it didn't do anything. It didn't change me anyway, but I felt it.
Right. Right.
You know, it presented itself to me, and it was up to my doing how I took it and what I did with it. Sure, I've been up and down with my faith as far as like, are you a true Catholic? Are you a true Christian in God? Some people would say no, but the thing is, that's not for them to say. That's for me to decide.
Right.
And where you stand with your religion shouldn't matter what anybody else says.
Right.
You know, like, and it shouldn't be a pride thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It should be, if you're willing to do it and if you're open to doing it, just do it with an open heart, extended your hands out to someone in front of you who can teach you something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's where you stop and you think, are they really teaching me, or are they trying to brainwash me?
Right. Well, no, but that's the thing. I don't think that everybody out there, and I certainly feel as if a lot of like the people who are really into the whole church thing are not trying to brainwash you. I think they're ultimately, I think it's all goodwill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that the issue at hand is our own subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's our own minds. If I was going to worship anything, would be the fucking human brain.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it does so much past what we can see that our brains do. You know what I mean? It creates our entire realities. You know, that's why I'm so afraid of death. Because it's like everything that I've ever seen, everything I've ever thought of, everything I've ever acknowledged, my eternity, like more than anything, like everything that I could possibly think of is automatically just gone. You know what I mean? So I think that our brains are so friggin' powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
But ultimately, I think that they can blind us. I think that, you know, a lot of the reasons why we have religion is because I think we're programmed to, at some degree. You know, I mean, just from the cause and effect of how we've evolved.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that at some point, it had been a part of, for our species to grow. Not necessarily in will, but it just happened and it worked and it benefited. You know, having that feeling of connection to a higher power. You know what I mean? So I think that that's just kind of how our brains evolved at a certain point. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, and this is all just throwing noise out of my ass, whatever, but I think in the beginning of time, it was really the only thought of why any of this existed was through God.
Right.
You know, like the sun is God. The sun warms us. You know, and I think it stemmed off of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the earlier times when the cavemen or the pharaohs, you know, Egyptians, you know, like those people worshiped the sun. Right.
That's the Pharaoh ages whenever religion really started.
Yeah.
Any time you could even, like, the concept of religion right there was just like, because it had so many different realms of gods and stuff from that aspect. And I mean, that was really a lot of the earliest civilization that we have record of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, I mean, I think it is kind of like a natural thing to want to keep going. I just don't feel as if it's necessary anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I think that with a lot of things other than religion as well. You know, I think eating meat isn't necessary anymore. I don't think we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm greedy, and I like the taste of meat,
mm-hmm.
and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But logically and like not emotionally, like I just feel as if we're past that. We can eat other food and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
We have evolved past that because it's not necessarily a physical evolving as much as like an intellectual level
mm-hmm.
that we broke through to be able to know what foods we can eat to survive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sorry to go off of religion.
No. I think in that same sense, like people decide that all they're gonna eat is grilled chicken, right? They prep their meal for the entire week.
Right.
They do that.
Right.
You could say the same thing
Mm-hmm.
about faith, about religion. How you set yourself out that this is what you're gonna. This is my dosage of God or my faith that I take in each and every day, and the result is of what I chose. I mean, people eat chicken every day because it's high in protein.
Right.
And they work out, and eventually it becomes muscle.
Right.
Okay. People worship God every day, so they can have that. What they teach in church of.
Right.
Reaching eternal life with God.
Right.
And the more that you go, the more that you stick to one thing, the greater, the higher you get to that greatness.
Right, and I think that there are certainly benefits to that, but I think that there are also substitutes to that as well, just like chicken.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
No, I feel that.
Although I will admit that the difference in between the two different subjects that we're talking about, at some point, I think that it would be acceptable and okay to outlaw meat. At some point in the future, religion, I think that should never be something that should ever be in contact with law.
Uh-huh.
Nobody should ever cut off religion. Nobody should ever sanction religion. You know what I mean?
No, totally.
Food, I think that we could evolve past it to where we shouldn't eat animals anymore.
Uh-huh.
Just out of the compassion aspect of it, you know.
I see that, and
I hate to say it because I like meat. I feel the same way about cigarettes too.
But I think it turns more into this crazier thought, and this is probably where it all ties back in with pride. Funny enough, but man and animal.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think I say it to you, but I never see, unless there's some incredible movement, I don't ever see meat being illegal or illegal to process meat.
Right.
In the sense of, we're man, we can do whatever we want, we can kill this animal if we want. I'm sure we probably killed every single animal and ate it at least once to see what was good for us and what wasn't good for us.
Right.
And when we saw that chicken and cow and fish and all these foods are beneficial to our nutrition in the sense of they provide the proteins that we need.
This is a great conversation. Why is this not recorded? Are you recording it?
Yeah.
How far back?
I don't know. But anyways, what I'm saying, I don't see it ever being that way because of this whole man is the greatest, is the top of the food chain.
Right.
You know, and granted, if we were in the fucking jungle, there'd be lions and jaguars and bears, oh my, coming to get us. It would be totally up to us to decide our fate. You know what I mean? They're just animals. They're just going to kill. But in the same sense, we're man, and we can decide what it is we want to eat, what it is we want to do, and nobody can stop us.
Right.
Except these people who, like the other day, I told you a story about that dirty hippie that came up to me.
Yeah.
Comes up to me and he says, "What do you think about meat packaging and how they're treating the animals?" And I said straight up, I have no opinion. I don't think about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was the most honest thing I'd ever said to another human being because it was the truth.
Right.
Right? I think about it. You know, I mean, every time I see a video of a fucking lamb being pile drive by some, like, jackass to kill it, to break its legs, and then, like, shed its wool or whatever, shave off its wool, I think that's the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
Chickens, man.
Chickens got it the worst. Yeah. No doubt.
Isn't that painful, though?
No, it is painful, though. But I don't think it's ever going to change in the sense of maybe because I don't think the world. I mean, you remember Interstellar?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing about it is that the world was starving.
Right.
Okay. Now I know we can live off of vegetables. I know people that. I think that's why it's amazing that we have the farming system where we always have something being grown.
Right. Well, now we have GMOs.
Yeah.
Which are a different sort of debate.
Yeah. I just think that it's never going to be seen, and it's never going to be illegal because I think people are always going to see it as this is our way of keeping everyone fed.
Right. And there is overpopulation of animals.
True.
I'm just saying that I respect ultimately somebody who actually goes out and hunts for their food 1 billion times more than somebody who orders a steak at a restaurant. And I am the second.
Okay, I get that. But
I think it's different whenever you actually go out and kill the animal and you eat it yourself versus an animal experiencing only born through a system really doesn't have any kind of life at all.
But okay, I feel you on that, but in the same sense, that's not really up for a human being to decide the quality of that animal's life. Okay, say okay, we're on a farm, okay, and the farm raises cattle.
Right.
Okay. I'm not talking about some plant. I'm talking about a farm, a legitimate farm. Okay. They raise their cow. Cows have calves. Cow grows up. As soon as it's been fed, as soon as it's been raised, gets slaughtered.
Right.
Meat gets packaged. Maybe he sells it. Maybe he keeps it.
Right.
Well, the life and death of that animal is the exact same there as it is in the wild, in the sense of it was born, it's living, bam, it's dead, now it's food.
I just think that there's a difference, not from that example, but from your example to one that only lives with 1 billion fucking cows.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And is in a fucking dark room its entire existence.
Yeah. No, that
or the chickens mainly. That's the big thing. They only exist in cages that there is no, you know. I mean, at least not the free run.
No, that I see as pure evil.
That is, that's the problem. But I eat those chickens.
Yeah.
And so I feel as if I don't have I feel like I don't have a right, just like the person who doesn't vote doesn't have a right to complain about the president.
Yeah.
So I'm a part of the problem. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I also legitimately feel as if I kind of feel like my vote doesn't count.
But I think that's just understanding the whole electoral college bullshit. And
well, yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
That is the electoral college. Why? Yeah. Why do we have fucking superdelegates? Why is that a thing?
You know, I feel like I learn more and more like things that just come like anytime like a candidate comes on and like they say like these new terms or these new things or whatever.
It's just more bureaucracy bullshit to help them steer the person.
I was thinking, did that word exist a year ago? Or is it just something that's like just now like popping up? Because I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure there always has been, but to my knowledge, I don't remember ever hearing about a superdelegate until recent years. Right. Now I'm sure it existed, but to my understanding.
Oh, I heard that the Dow Jones is down 3 points. Just kidding. I don't even know what that means.
I wish I knew. Nah, man. I think no matter what it is that we talked about, I think it and as far as the resistance to it, resistance to stop. I mean to end eating meat, resistance to accepting religion,
right?
Yeah, all that. I think it always just comes back to you building a wall right in front of you as it's coming,
right? So
it hits that wall, and you stand there all safe.
You know, kind of like whenever we wrote music together, and you know, I would be loving this vocal line.
Uh-huh.
I love the words that it had to it. It meant the world to me. I'm fucking building this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm using the best fucking mortar I could come up with.
Uh-huh.
These fucking bricks, you know, that I fucking spent money on emotionally. You know, I spent time putting this stuff together. And whenever I hear, you know, that's not going to be the best for the song. It'd be better if we did this. You know, it's hitting the wall. And then that's just making me, I'm lashing out. You know, I'm like, you know, no, man, I think that this is the best for the song. Instead of clearing the wall, you know, I could have just, if it's better for the song, why don't we try it another way?
Yeah.
You know?
Goes that with anything.
I guess
Goes
so.
goes that with God, it goes that with health, it goes that with intellect.
Right.
But I think ultimately there's always walls being built in front of you to stop you from believing or thinking something. You know what I mean? I think no matter... And the thing is, I think it's through previous experiences, or I think it's something that you said to yourself that this is the way that it's always going to be, so without even thinking it, you just do it. It's on autopilot. It's just blah, 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 the wall's there. You know what I mean? Where you don't even decide, do I even want there to be a wall there? You know, I think sometimes maybe that's subconsciously being done without us even understanding it. You know what I mean?
But I think that also kind of goes hand in hand with how I feel about, I think that the true honesty is not having the wall there, which includes the concept of why I feel as if, like, being agnostic is like the clearest, purest form.
I thought you were about to say Buddhist.
No, well...
Because like, you can imagine there being some Buddhist, there is no wall.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Buddhism means different things to other people.
No, I just think so.
But I just feel like agnosticism is the most honest, purest form, just because it's almost the concept of there not being a wall. You know, ever.
Yeah.
You know, basically, it can exist both ways, with there being a God, being not a God, and that we just won't know. I think that's the way that it is. I think that, well, you know, I mean, it is an unfinished answer. You know what I mean? I just think that we are all, at some degree, in the naked form, agnostic, and we build our faith blocks in certain directions.
Right.
You know, just like I subconsciously have it in my head. You know, I've built my wall out of there not being a God. You know?
Yeah.
And what I logically should do is knock it down and be like, who needs a wall?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just be a nice guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, absolutely.
And it's the seeing things on Facebook or concepts, you know, religious conversations that just make me feel, I guess, pissy and negative, you know, sometimes.
That's the individual. That's the human aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's for fucking generations. That has always been the fault of religion. It's the human aspect of it. Because religion is not supposed to be anything with humans. It's supposed to be about you as an individual with that higher power, no matter what it is.
God clearly exist or not, shouldn't ever be the same thing as religion.
Right.
Like, religion is what fucked things up in that whole aspect of things. I totally respect your view of your God, you know, of your belief system, because you are never, like, pushing shit in people's faces.
Right.
This is the kind of conversation that people should fucking have. Mm-hmm. You know, to where, you know, maybe it does hurt a little bit to talk about it in some aspects of it, but that means that it's meaning something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you felt nothing out of this conversation, that would just mean that that's just who you are. But if you do feel something, it means you at least have it in you to
question yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, the thing that it's kind of what I was feeling whenever in the regards of going to church and taking it all in. You know, like, say you have a relative who's on their deathbed. Okay, they're in the hospital, last few moments, and you go up to them and they say, you know, Uncle so-and-so, you know, are you scared to die? And they say, no, I got nothing to be afraid about. You say, why? Because I'm going to heaven. Right? This is an older person. They've had years and years of life that they lived, but they also had that relationship, whereas they were going to church. They were interacting with people who had a positive impact on them with religion. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was all taken in over the years, and then at the very end, they knew that even though they were going to die, they had everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm not saying in your specific case, I'm just saying when you prevent yourself from ever taking anything in, whether it be a conversation with a priest, whether it be going to Bible study, whether it be anything at all, you prevent yourself from that, you're preventing yourself from that thing. I mean, because you're saying a lot of it is just a great unknown. It's like we don't know what's going to happen when we die, or you think subconsciously.
Well, no, I have a belief in what happens when we die.
Right.
I just think that, you know, it's the same as when any other animal dies. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that, and obviously we couldn't possibly detect what they experience, but I mean, I just think it's the whole blink out thing. You know what I mean? That's what I truly feel, but I also find peace with that. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that what existence is suffering, and that's a lot of the Buddhist reading probably put that in my head. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And because that is a Buddhist thought, that life is suffering. Mm-hmm. And the truth that I see behind that is anything that you ever have that's given to you, any sort of pleasure, is eventually taken away. Mm-hmm. You know? But also with that comes appreciation for everything that does come into your life. I think that ultimately what death is the end all of suffering. Mm-hmm. You know, and clear. And actually real Buddhist, okay, you know the whole afterlife thing for Hindus, right?
I remember that one.
Okay. You know what reincarnation is?
Yeah, of course.
Reincarnation is whenever you die and then come back, you know, in another form, another life. And then that is your existence. That is all of everything. Mm-hmm. Everything in the future is a continuous cycle. Mm-hmm. That's Hindu. Buddhism came from Hindu. Buddha was kind of like the first, you know, poetic atheist of the Hindus. Who was really informative and was very peaceful and was who was just a new philosopher, you know, and he picked up a lot of his beliefs, just like how you could think that like Christianity came from Judaism, because you've got the Old Testament and you've got the New Testament, and it's a whole fucking different thing now, but it's got the same stories. a lot of what Buddhism was all they ever knew. All they ever understood was a lot of the same concepts. So even though there was a lot of new thought, new concepts, there was still what they knew of, so reincarnation was just a way that they really saw things. This is before science, So they only still thought that, but in a different light. What a Buddha is one who doesn't suffer. One who completely exists without suffering, isn't suffering anymore. Mm-hmm. Everybody has potential to be a Buddha, and eventually everybody will be a Buddha in Buddhism. Mm-hmm. You just have to go through these many lifetimes until you reach Buddha status. When you're at Buddha status, when you become completely enlightened, you become part of everything. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, being a Buddha is not suffering anymore. So ultimately, I think that my real beliefs is that we skip all the suffering, repeating lives. Mm-hmm. I think we ultimately, when we die, we just blink out and end all the suffering right there. Mm-hmm. We are actually, in my eyes, you're a Buddha instantly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So honestly, I view it as even more peaceful than Buddhism. Mm-hmm. The way that I see things. Yeah. I think that there is a lot of peace to the whole blink out and frightening. I'm scared. I don't want to die. I totally get why people are afraid of death. Or afraid of the concept of not going to heaven. Mm-hmm. Because heaven was built up for me, just like I'm sure that it was many of the people, like heaven's so great. The feeling.
Yeah. All the restaurants are open past 2 a.m.
Right. I mean, ultimately, in my later Christian years, because I was born again at one point, I really thought heaven was more of just a feeling, and not any sort of living thought, thinking, anything. I just felt as if it was a warmth. Mm-hmm. I don't think that my perspective is much different than that.
But see, I think where it comes in, though, is I think the afterlife, that's all it... I don't think heaven is one singular place where every individual spirit goes to.
Right.
I think it's the place where my spirit is going to go to, and I will live in eternal rest.
Right.
And what eternal rest for me will be heaven. So right. if eternal rest is for me not suffering anymore throughout my entire body, throughout right. my brain, my body, my heart, my soul, right. where I am just in one moment for all eternity, I've reached level 9,000. Right. That is it. If heaven to me is I go to this place, all my loved ones are there waiting for me.
Right.
All of mankind is peaceful.
Right.
It's always beautiful. It's always sunny. It's perfect misty weather at night. I wake up feeling 1,000 times better every single day. Well, it's entirely up. I think it's all of it is perspective. What it is you want.
Right. And a scientific element of how things work, how our brains work. The beauty behind all of those concepts are based on our dopamine and what else? Serotonin, mm-hmm. and the one that's they say the love. I don't know. Whatever.
Tryptophan.
It's not tryptophan, but it's the other one, and that's more of that love warmth thing.
Yeah.
I think ultimately what happens when we die is our brains cash in all of that, along with the. What is it? The DMT. You've heard of DMT?
Yeah.
Right. Our bodies generate DMT, the strongest hallucinogen in the world. Mm-hmm. We have that in our brains. Whenever we die, there's proof that it just crashes all of that at once.
Mm-hmm.
The DMT, I don't have any proof on the other. I think ultimately what happens is we probably feel all of those at the one point, and time right before we die stands still.
Mm-hmm.
Because our concepts of time are not the same. We are dying. We are at the verge of death.
Mm-hmm.
So when time stops still, I think, numerically speaking, that equals eternity.
Mm-hmm.
So that is eternity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not, scientifically, it's about the same thing as an idea of being a Buddha. Same thing as what heaven would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Still, I don't know what I'm talking about. These are just ideas.
No. If I wasn't a man of faith, I would totally think that's the most amazing idea. I believe. I mean, if it's a neurological thing that our bodies go through, every single human body goes through, then yeah, sure, it does make sense. But the idea of it being of heaven and hell being either a good trip or a bad trip,
I don't think that anybody suffers hell.
Uh-huh.
I think that there are shitty people that are just naturally shitty, and that's the way that things are.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, even though part of us wants there to seek vengeance on those people, I don't think that, mathematically speaking, any amount of negative equals an eternity of anything, equals an absolution of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't think that if somebody does something wrong, doesn't turn to Christ, not just something wrong, the evilest thing we can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think on a scale of any degree it would be just to give that person an infinite number
mm-hmm.
on anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't add up at all mathematically to me. I mean, not that I've got real numbers, but I mean, it just doesn't make sense that anything equals infinity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And an eternity in hell is an infinity number.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that is all the negative. I don't think that a just God, and I understand that we don't know how God's mind works. We don't get, I'm just saying that I don't find in any way that it could be real true justice for that to happen. It's just, I think that, ultimately, maybe those people deserve to end suffering too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that once you're dead, vengeance matters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I get that. Absolutely. I think as far as judgment goes,
mm-hmm.
I think that's all a matter of, because I also think that this is also where the humanity of it comes in play,
mm-hmm.
where it's
or we do want justice.
Yeah.
We seek that.
Yeah. And whenever fucking rapist killers in court.
Right.
You know what I mean? And someone says, "May God have mercy on your soul."
Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes no sense.
I think.
But it happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's where it just sort of turns to the humanity of it all. As far as those are those great unknowns, in that faith of. Is there a version of hell in other religions? I know
they're mostly just Christianity, but there are other things like hell, like Valhalla, or like Greek mythology.
Hades or some shit like that.
Yeah. That's Greek, yeah. But it's not hell, it's the land of the dead.
Yeah.
You know, that's where everybody goes.
Yeah.
You know, but I think I just kind of see religion in the same magnifying glass as we've all looked at other religions in the past. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just think that it you know, like just like Greek mythology kind of sounds ridiculous in some elements to us now because we grew up in Christian society.
Yeah.
You know, it just sounds ridiculous. Like, that's crazy. It wouldn't work like that.
Almost sounds like comic books. Like
it does.
Superheroes.
Right, but so does the Bible from another dimension. You know, another perspective.
Shit, you can look at Samson and you look at him and you think, oh, that's like Hercules. You look at him and you think, oh, that's like Thor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's all related and it's all written off of the same, you know, same guidelines of whatever did happen or whatever was originally written. Mm-hmm. You know? And I don't know. I mean, I think that there is a lot of intellect in religion, but I think most of that intellect doesn't take the Bible verbatim.
Mm-hmm. It's where it becomes more emotional than intellectual.
Right.
It's where
there's certainly a philosophy.
Because there are definitely those people who become way too, like, I say way too emotional, but when you witness it, it confuses you. Right. Like, whenever you see people, like, if you were to go to church and you were to see someone, their eyes closed and they're just, like, in a trance, you had no idea what was going on, like, from the outsider's perspective, you know what I mean? And then whenever they would approach you and maybe they would go off of something, there'd be, like, probably be a lot of emotions into it because it's crazy stuff that's going on in them, you know what I mean? You're trying to go from an intellectual aspect, they're going solely off of the emotions that are in that present moment.
Right.
And it's going to clash with each other.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, I guess that's just the thing. I don't really have emotional connections to the things that happened in the Bible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
But also, I mean, that's probably from lack of going or lack of being open to that sort of thing.
Maybe it's like Walking Dead. No. I'm just saying, like, intellectually, we watch Walking Dead and we get offended when things happen to these characters and stuff. You know what I mean? It hurts us. It pains us. Oh my God, they shot Daryl?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously, we all kind of have what we know how the Bible ends for the most part. Uh-huh. I mean, I know the parts of the Bible. There's a lot more detail that I could go into. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just the fact that every time I get involved in reading the Bible, I get angry. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I shouldn't.
It's funny because I know that there are people who will say, like, people who are upset, like, driven by emotions.
Right.
That might seem a bit extreme.
Right.
You know, people would look at that and it's like, why don't you get angry for God? Why don't you feel crazy for God? Like, you know what I mean? Like say, like, you were, it's the same one I've always heard, like, you know, this kid, you know, he's with this woman and he's just crazy in love with her. He's just losing, you know, he's just losing it, like, and he goes up to a pastor and is like, I'm just madly in love with this woman and what do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And he goes, well, why don't you put that love towards God?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's putting what you're creating from yourself towards something as, like, a greater good. You know what I mean? Like, if you're getting angry, if you're getting frustrated, and you put that towards something like faith, I mean, not as long as you're not negative towards anybody else, but you're frustrated with coming to terms with yourself as a human being, or you're frustrated with, like, you know, like, how does this all supposed to make sense? And then you open yourself up to God, and then by some miraculous thing, however it works in church or through Bible or the Spirit coming on to you, that answer comes to you because you were putting that emotion, that energy towards that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the reason that atheists are so... They put up that wall.
Right.
Was because...
Skepticism.
That's where they're putting that energy towards.
Right.
Instead of the openness of what could be.
I just feel as if skepticism is more beneficial than faith on the aspect of how everything else works. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like out of the concept of religion, being skeptical of the things outside are better on protecting you and your family than just having faith in the things outside. You know what I mean?
I get that, but I still think that's just that's solely an individual thing. Like, if I decide in myself, I decide that I have nothing to worry about, that nobody is going to break into this door at night.
Right.
Because I believe God's watching over me and will protect me.
Right.
Okay, through faith. Through faith, I believe that I can go to sleep absolutely no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I
instead of staying up all night worrying about what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I see that too. I'm just saying, like, the way that the faith method works versus the way that, like, the scientific method works. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that faith is almost contradictory to how a mathematical equation works. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that it's one of those things where you just have this idea and you hold on to it and you dismiss the contradictions as opposed to working them into the problem. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. But I think it still goes in the sense of it being an individual thing. Where I could say, John, we have nothing to worry about. God's going to watch over us. God's going to keep this door locked and nothing bad's going to happen. And then you say to me, dude, we live in a terrible neighborhood. There are gangsters who live next door.
Right. That's where the faith would fall and the skepticism would be beneficial.
But no, that's what I'm saying, though. I'm saying you invading my faith with your skepticism, with your scientific method, your individual beliefs invading my individual beliefs, I don't see that. I see that as contradictory more than the idea of faith being contradictory, because...
Niko, we gotta lock the doors before we go to bed.
I get it. Okay? But it's not the point. I think it's the point of faith. Like, I live through faith.
Right.
Okay?
Everything?
Everything.
Because that's dangerous. God, take the wheel.
If that was... No. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I felt it in that moment, and it's crazy for me to say this as your best friend, but if I ever felt that, then yeah, I would.
Right.
Okay? Haven't felt it yet?
I don't think that God would do that to you. Mm-hmm. I think that with there being a God, it would be a little of the testing your faith.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like an idea that bothers me. But I think I think that ultimately in this reality, on how things work, if there's a God, he's got to be the testing your faith God. Mm-hmm. Just a little. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
But you can feel that in any moment, in any day.
I think that if God exists, he's for skepticism. In, like you're saying, an individual manner. Mm-hmm. It just depends on what it is and your intelligence on how to deal with whatever is going on.
Also, I mean, I think that just kind of has to do with the sense of good and evil. You know what I mean? Like,
goodwill.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, say I was going throughout my entire day and then something presented to myself. Something. Who say what it is, who knows? Something presented myself. And no matter what it was I chose to do, whether it be for the positive or the negative,
right.
That's the test right there of faith.
Right.
Could be anything.
I think that if there was a God, or if there is a God, you know, and he is judgmental in a certain aspect of where he puts people through either hell or heaven, I think that really what everything would base down to is ultimately that real inner good, real inner evil. Mm-hmm. Like, I would think, you know, that, you know, I would be one of the ones that would ascend, you know, even though blasphemy,
lack of faith already.
Lack of faith.
That's already,
That's in the book. That's a thing. I really have trouble believing that a higher power would be the Abrahamic religion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Any of the three Abrahamic religions. That's probably my biggest, I guess the biggest wall if we're having the conversation on it. I think that I don't believe in God. But if I did, it would probably be one of those power of the mind kind of things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Probably not that. That's not even realistic to me either. I think it would be more so what I do naturally feel, and because I think that everybody does have a feeling. I grew up believing that there was a God. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that is still ingrained in me, and it would definitely be a good debate on whether that really is God or whether, you know, it is a part of my subconscious. And I think that's a good debate because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I think that if there is, I feel as if it is one of those that doesn't matter if you believe in him and cares more about how you treat children, how you treat the elderly, you know, how you treat people, you know, especially the weak, you know, versus the person who just follows and goes to church, you know, or whatever, and does the everything that the particular book, whatever book, you know, is specifically written down to say. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think it's more of an internal thing. And I think that the books were probably completely inspired by that power. Like the thing on homosexuality. Homosexuality, really, the only thing that says anything against it is in one fucking part of the book. Mm-hmm. And what it has to say is these people that are in the desert shouldn't eat crawfish, or shellfish is the word, shouldn't eat shellfish, shouldn't cut their hair right here, can't cut their hair right there, and, you know, if you lay down with another man, if a man lays with another man, you know, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's the exact same part, that's the only part where it says anything against that. And all of those things are beneficial for the time. Mm-hmm. And absolutely, because if you eat shellfish in the desert, it's probably going to kill you. Mm-hmm. It works against the civilization, the group that's escaping in the desert. Mm-hmm. It works against, you know, your populace if, you know, you're a man and you're into men. You know, it's going to work completely against it. And as a matter of fact, I don't think AIDS was an existing thing then. Mm-hmm. At all. I think that's something that was eventually created way later in time. Mm-hmm. But, and yeah, I think it's created by the government. Fuck yeah. But I do feel as if, you know, there were more chances for disease. You know, there's hepatitis from anal. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of things and no protection in that aspect. But mostly, if a dude is into dudes, he's not going to have kids. Mm-hmm. you know. And I think that now, that's why I'm pro-gay, I think that we should have less babies. Mm-hmm. The only babies that need to be happening are the ones that are fucking planned or close to planned or something like that. Has a life, has a household, has a chance, you know. And the abortion topic, that's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, you know, I think we should let the people love who they love. I think we're past that. I think the Bible has a lot of those things. You know what I mean? A lot of things that made sense when they were going on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Even, and I know a lot of Christians are like, yeah, that's the Old Testament, and the New Testament's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and I totally get that, and I think that that's needed to have been said. Because there's a lot of crazy shit in the Old Testament that just wouldn't work now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that even in the New Testament, though, as well, I think we've evolved past certain things that make sense. And I think ultimately, you know, if there's a God, mm-hmm. I think it's the God of love.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do you ever, like, what's the oldest book that you have?
The oldest?
Yeah, like, what's the book that you think you've had the longest? Of your entire life?
Probably one of my Bibles.
Okay. That's kind of around it, but anyways.
Well, it's...
No, I
always had Bibles.
No, I get you. Say... You know, like those little, like those libraries that you see in a person's house. I won't take too much more of your time. Right, you know, like those... Like, you see, like... Is it okay if I get those?
Yeah, I think I'm going to get some, too.
I
don't have a problem with time. I was just curious.
You go to somebody's house, they have a small library.
Right.
Okay. They have all these books.
Is that chocolate or vanilla?
That's vanilla.
Well, I'm getting chocolate.
They have all these books, and you think to yourself, when the hell
are you gonna read?
Are you gonna read any of these damn books? You're not gonna read any of these damn books.
Yeah. I like to collect books.
Right. But you see all those books.
Last book I legitimately read was the Satanic Bible.
You see all those books, and you think that, but to them, they have those books there because at any given moment, maybe they'll need something from one of those books.
Right.
So I think that can be said in the same sense of the Bible. Now you bring up stuff that normally a lot of people go to. You know, I'm surprised you didn't do that whole bit about in that one verse that says you can't shave your beard or whatever that nonsense is.
But pretty much the same thing, but
yeah.
That we can both agree is not.
Right. I know, but people go to those things that seem completely bonkers. But I'm saying the idea of the Bible itself, it's like a guide. Mm-hmm. Any answer that you need, you can go in there, and it may take you a while to understand everything. Mm-hmm. You probably could find an answer to all your problems.
Right. Well, I definitely believe that there is a lot of good in the Bible. I also feel that we have more applicable philosophies now. You know? Mm-hmm.
You don't also think that kind of fits in with the whole wall thing?
I don't. I just, you know, I think that instead of having the one book, which is technically a summation of many books, mm-hmm. I think we have many more books now. Like an incredible amount of books on philosophy, which some of the things correlate with what was previously, you know, written down in the Bible. But a lot of the things go into, you know, further detail or, you know, work against some of the things that weren't quite as peaceful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the wall thing.
So you're saying that we've just completely moved beyond. Are you trying to go along the lines of the Bible is outdated, and we have a better book? That instead of interpreting everything as faith, we have an exact definition for what is.
No, I don't think anybody knows. I think just like science is incomplete and always will be incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we'll ever have the answers. You know what I mean? I think that we'll have better understandings. And I think that the Bible is outdated in a sense of, while several things can bring you peace throughout the day, I don't think any of them, unless you're already connected into the biblical mindset, I don't think any of them are going to be more beneficial than other things you can find.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any follow-up on that, man.
No.
I mean, I don't think that we have any one book that's going to cover. I mean, that's the thing as well with the Bible. I mean, I think that it's too I mean, it is. I mean, I guess I do. I think it's too definitive of itself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of like it tells you it's the one-all thing, and it says, because it says so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that ultimately it is crazy outdated. I think we've moved past it, but I think that at the same time, yeah, there are definitely people that need it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I know that when people think of an atheist, and I say people in a giant blanket statement, not even considering what you think, but I know that there are definitely people who consider an atheist as one who couldn't possibly have moral parameters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that there are people that don't have moral parameters, and I think that it exists that the Bible does keep people in check. Not everybody. Not even smart people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of the weaker-minded people require the Bible. I don't think that people who read the Bible believe the Bible are weaker-minded. I'm saying the weaker of the people that read the Bible need the Bible to know how to function.
Like prisoners.
Actually, exactly like prisoners. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the people that, it's a rectangle is not a square, but a square is a rectangle. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying this isn't anything against people who believe the Bible at all. This is all of really weak-minded people. Obviously, that's a giant blanket statement. Many fucking weak-minded people do need something with parameters in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible is a form of moral parameters. I feel as if that was the point of its creation in the first place. Even if you do believe in God, that would be God's purpose of putting a Bible out there, to create those moral parameters. I just think that people made it. And I think that, at that point, it wasn't just weak-minded people. I think everybody in that age was weak-minded.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think we've moved past that several steps, which is a lot of the reason why I think that it is outdated. A lot of the reason why I feel as if we don't need it anymore. But having this conversation and thinking about those weak-minded people that still do exist, I think that you would be fine without it. I'm not trying to tell you that you need it or that you don't need it. I respect your view amongst almost anybody that I can think of's view in general. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you're very intelligent about, not necessarily the theology, but why you feel what you feel. Mm-hmm. Which same thing we talk about music. We don't have to know the history to talk about these guys.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of people I want to talk to, because we are going to be completely clouded by ignorance or intelligence. It's not going to matter. Somebody's belief isn't going to be proven or disproven with more information when it comes to religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's going to be a feeling thing. I cannot disprove God. You can't prove God. It's our position to take it in and accept it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which obviously we're not pushing on each other.
No. Nah, I would never push the idea of it on you. All I would do...
It's helping me open my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I would encourage, I would hope, but I never in my mind would say, like...
But that's also why I want to have this conversation with you.
But the same sense, though, you could probably have the exact same conversation with a total stranger, someone who goes to church, someone who is of mind, body, and soul with God.
And I'm for that, but it's finding that person.
As in anything, man. Just gotta have faith.
Be skeptical about that.
Say it all you want, man, but I got faith in you. And I'm not just saying that.
But faith in what? I mean,
I have faith in you that whatever answer it is that you're looking for, you can find.
yeah.
Whatever it is that you want, you can achieve.
I do too.
In whatever aspect. But if we're talking about religion, we're talking about a higher power of understanding. I think as long as you give yourself to that and allow yourself to take it in without being skeptical, without being that. I'm not saying just take what everyone says as what it is.
I've got to have some.
You can have
a little bit of faith here, a little bit of skepticism here, you know.
You can ask questions and you can question all you want, but what I think is if you want to be the exact same person that you are 30 years down the way, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
If there's ever a part of you that wants to open your mind to something completely brand new and go to them and talk to them and be taught something that happened, however it is you want to take it.
Right.
All that is a conversation.
It existed at least for literary purposes.
Exactly.
So did Little Miss Muffet. It exists in some realm. I'm not at the state right now where I feel like it's important enough to seek. You know what I mean? I'm good where I'm at. But sometimes talking about it's good. And I think I'd like to have a conversation with a total stranger. But maybe they come up with a different philosophy. That'd be nice too. Concept I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Maybe I should open myself up to the whole concept of Scientology. You know? I'm the most ignorant of that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe. Or Islam.
Islam, that'd be interesting.
That would be very interesting.
Totally.
My dad would kill me. And that's stupid. You know, in Houston, it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
And I see all kinds of people. And there's this lady I see every time. She's always wearing a hijab. And I always say hi, and we talk for a little bit, you know. She, gives me the box, and I scan it and sign. And I notice she's got a Quran, and I go up to her one day, and I was like, "You've got a really lovely hijab. Is that how you pronounce it?" And she was like, "Yeah, well, it's, she said hijab or hijab, the opposite of whatever I said." And she was like, "But you got it." And I was like, want to apologize for the way that our country's been acting, lately towards, and it sounds cheesy. I know why you're laughing. I totally get that, but she found it real fucking thoughtful. And she was moved that, fucking little white boy, with a big old red beard had come and talked to her and said something like that.
Yeah.
And she's an African American lady. You know what I mean? So like she was touched by the fact that there's somebody if all you see on the radio or the TV is fucking Trump, bad mouthing, we need to get all these, Muslims out of here. Like, if you're a Muslim, that's fucking terrifying that this person's gonna be fucking president. Like, that's insane. I want people to know that America is not full of that. We've got other people too who actually care. And the, bearded white guy, the last person you'd expect, has your fucking back, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, like, because it got to me emotionally knowing that it got to her emotionally, like, at some level, there was a connection as in, you've got love here. You know what I mean? It's not all hate. And I don't know. I mean, I honestly, to be realistic, Islam is the one religion furthest from my beliefs system. It just kind of goes against everything. But at the same time, I've got love for people. And this is always going to be my concept. I will never hate a Muslim. I may hate Islam. I may have problems with the concept of Christianity, but I'll never hate a Christian. Maybe an individual person. I don't hate people. If the term identifies as a person, I don't hate them. I don't necessarily feel like in the Christian aspect that I just love everybody. I'd like to, but it doesn't really melt with exactly how I feel inside. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm talking to Niko. Really deep conversation. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah. Love you. So I'm just saying, I could never hate a group of people. It's pretty ridiculous too. But it's also kind of ridiculous to hate the whole, whatever it is anyway. Why hate anything? Even with the whole thing with Justin getting that phone call yesterday, he was the only person I've ever actually hated. And the truth is, he's just been dicked around by the same person. Of course, he acted the way that he did. I had no good reason to hate him at all. I still do a little. But I still think he's kind of a cunt. But you see what I'm saying, man. I guess ultimately, hate never does anybody any good. Obviously, that doesn't really say anything for this conversation on religion. But it was a great conversation. I'm glad I had it with my brother.
Anytime, buddy.
Night, bro.
Good night.